fuel?
Well, I got that 550 that's been here since 2008. I haven't had a problem with that.
Okay.
So, but it all depends what kind of fuel we get from now on too.
So it's more truck than what we originally went to look at.
Yeah.
But we can't get what we went to look at.
No, it's
No,
not.
We don't
if,
even come
It's not
close.
available.
if, oh, you're saying even if we were to say we don't care about the state discount,
You pay-
there's still nothing available or
Well, yeah, but you'd be paying more what you're paying here.
for,
And right now, they're not available. There's nothing out there. Dealers just don't have the one-ton trucks.
is there a hold put on this for us?
Yeah, until tomorrow morning. If we don't take it, it's another
And
town
then
that
he
wants
had to
it.
negotiate that.
Yeah.
We kind of negotiated.
Because he's got 6 more towns that
That
won't
want
take
it.
it.
Where's it coming from?
It's coming from Claremont.
Wow.
Now, this would be a replacement for the truck you were previously trying to buy, correct?
Yes.
Which
Okay.
was a Dodge at first.
Right, and then to a-
Unbeknownst to Peter.
Yeah, no, I
Right.
didn't-
Unbeknownst, okay. All right, I just want to make sure we're still talking a replacement
The
vehicle.
same.
Yeah.
Same make.
vehicle.
You know, I still can get the parts from Gripponi and get dealers
So all the
close by.
warranty work can be done
Yeah.
close.
Exactly, yeah.
Let me ask about diesels. I mean, I don't know a lot about diesel engines. Does it have a better life expectancy?
Yes.
As long as the rust doesn't take it away.
Well, salt
Well,
and
the
sand
five, the
kills
550 I
everything.
got's got almost 155,000 miles on. The only thing I had to do with that was rebuild the tranny, actually replace it.
All right.
And what size is this one?
It's a F-350, it's a 1-ton pickup.
Dual tires on?
No,
that?
single tires.
Single tires.
Just like the lime green one I got. which is
Four-wheel drive?
4-wheel drive, posi rear end,
And is it coming with a plow?
coming with a
That's
9-foot plow.
Part of that 49?
That's part of that 49,702.
As Peter said, the plow has a discount on it too,
Yeah.
$410.
Actually, the plow for the other truck that I priced was 6,000 something, so.
Did you have in mind to pay cash right out of the
Yeah,
funds?
yeah.
Oh, there is money in
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, there's plenty of money.
Yeah.
You know, especially because we did not pay cash for the
Loader.
loader.
So this would come out of the capital expense?
Yes.
Yeah. So, I
This
mean,
doesn't affect your tax rate.
no, I mean, it's just, you know, another
Well,
drain on that capital reserve that we're going to have to make up over the next several years.
it's an ongoing thing.
Yes, it is.
That's the purpose for the capital reserve, I believe.
It is.
Yeah. And I think everybody knows there is a vehicle shortage.
Yeah,
Well,
definitely a
And
problem.
parts, there's a lot of
So I
shortage.
think
Uh,
if we have
We have a crucial
in
deadline.
on it, and if you didn't get a pickup this year,
Mhm.
how would that impact the highway department?
Well, we wouldn't be able, you know, the main goal is cleaning an intersection and cul-de-sacs.
That's what it's used.
That's what it's used for, and also, you know, it helps out the bigger trucks so they're not packing in there all the
Yeah,
time.
don't we hire out for a lot of our snow removal?
No,
We do all of it
we
in-house?
do all of it in-house.
Okay, that's a surprise.
You'd save time because it would take longer to clean out the
Mhm.
cul-de-sac and the intersections if somebody's out there with a large dump truck and poor visibility out the
Well,
back.
that, and they wouldn't be able to treat the roads as quick as we.
All right, so you're gonna mount a salt,
No, not on this, but I'm saying,
oh,
if I didn't have this, the big truck would have to do the cul-de-sacs and the intersections, which would tie them up longer before.
It'd take longer.
Yes.
And it would cost more labor.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's an extra labor cost. That's what I'm getting at.
yeah. I don't think we have a whole lot of choice. Your current pickup truck's on its last legs, right?
Yep,
What happens, that must have a plow on it.
It does, but
So-
it's been on 3 or 4 trucks.
Has it? So we don't get a new one every time we get a pickup? if
Wow.
We don't have to?
Before me, no. Since, you know,
Probably.
because of the plows, gets brutally used during the winter, you're better off to get new, because then you start welding and replacing springs and cutting edges and pins. The holes get elongated.
And I would assume one size does not fit all, because they all have
Well,
different
that, yeah.
configurations.
The older plows don't fit the newer trucks anymore.
At the very least, you have to get a different plow frame. right?
Yeah.
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 I move we authorize Peter to make the purchase and take the funds out of the capital reserve account.
Second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Now, I suppose I'll see you in the morning.
Yep.
First
Yes.
thing?
First thing, please, don't lose the truck.
Oh, no.
This is the third one. That's lucky.
Anything after that, if we lose, right? Thank you.
Okay, we'll put a purchase order together.
Oh, Peter, before you head off, we were talking earlier this morning about the delivery date on the loader.
Yeah, it'd be mid-November, mid to end of November.
Okay.
Whoa, gonna skate right in there, huh?
Yep.
Okay. Just wanted to confirm for the record.
Yep, that's fine. And what I was told from the dealer, if it was close to winter, he would lend us a machine.
Okay.
You know, we knew the snow was coming early.
Thank you.
Okay, have a good night. Oh, here's your additional items.
Yes, well, some of them overlap.
Now, as far as reviewing building number 2 lease, would you like to wait until Sean comes back?
I think that would be appropriate, in part, because we really need to discuss where we're going with Building 2 or our police station situation. And when the reporter from Ledger was in here and talking to Jim and myself, she was asking what the status was and on the new police station. We don't have a status at this point.
I have a
That's a
question.
very good answer.
Building number 2 question. I just had, it caught my eye today, I happened to glance out the window, it's a beautiful sunny day. I looked at building number 2, and I'll bet if you put solar panels on top of that thing and angle them right, you could run this whole complex. I don't know if it would make sense financially, but I bet you could.
Yeah. I think solar panels have been looked at because we have 9 acres in this
Yeah.
total parcel here. And because of the way New Hampshire is running their solar program, I think John Visa looked into it in some depth, and he said the payback just wasn't there
It
anymore.
very well might not be, okay, you know, because you can, something can work very well, but if you're not using that much electricity to begin with here,
Yeah,
yeah. But it was just something I happened to
Yep.
notice. Okay. I have here, I have copies for each of you. This is called the MS 535. It is a balance sheet of the town. It is required. It was due to be completed on April 1. So we have it here now, okay? And this is the copy to be signed. I gave you a draft copy. The draft is the same as what's in there.
Does this need our signatures tonight?
I need, yes. I need two signatures. We can leave that, we can make that available for Sean to sign when he comes back, but I have to send that into the state because the state won't look at it until the selectmen have signed it, even though it's complete. They won't review something unless the selectmen have signed it.
So this was done by our auditors, was it?
It was compiled by our auditors. And they're well into the audit, and I expect them to be out here sometime next month to finish the audit.
unless you have reservations about it, let's just sign it and get it
In
out
round-
out
This
the
right
door.
here?
In round numbers, okay? It shows you your expenses, it shows you your revenues, This is all the general fund.
Yep.
And our total budget is in the $11 million range.
Yep.
And, I mean, one of the things you talked about was how much should we retain, how much, you know, and we can look a little further at that. What is somewhere, I think, remember correctly, 10 to 12%. Okay, we have over 1.6 million in fund balance, undesignated fund balance. And talking to the auditor, if when they get done with the audit, we may reclassify something a little differently, it may go up $50,000 or $60,000.
Yeah,
Okay.
but is that based on a cash or accrual system?
It's based on an accrual system,
Yeah,
but I think most of it's in cash.
yeah, the only thing, the only section of that I worry about is the taxes that are arrears, because they would be considered part of,
The taxes that are in arrears here are not, at a glance, are not terribly bad. It's kind of like you have the same characters over and over again.
right,
So our percentage of collection is fairly good. And when it gets down to determining what to do with the fund balance and that sort of thing, and setting a policy,
mm-hmm,
we can look at that. And we will look in depth at that, because it's easy to do. But financially, we're sound. It was just a question of getting everything together in the right format so it can be used.
So this last page, general fund balance sheet, is that the fund balance right there?
That's a reconciliation,
Oh,
okay? He has to do a reconciliation on the form. This form ties into the form from the year before, which ties into the form from the year after that.
yeah, no, that's not fund balance, that's,
Yeah,
that's not,
that's,
that's not gonna show up.
that's how to
as-
make the numbers work,
that's it,
Yeah.
that's right. The sheet before you,
balance sheet.
that's the
Oh,
number.
there's the balance sheet.
Yeah, that's
Yep.
the number you want. And down at the bottom, and obviously, some of the fund balance is spoken for.
Yeah, yeah, we have obligations to it,
We have obligations, or, you know,
yeah, commitments, whatever you wanna call them,
yeah.
yep. And some of it, I would assume, is in places like conservation that we can't touch.
The conservation fund does not enter into this at all.
Really?
It's a
Okay,
separate fund.
okay, I know it's a separate,
That's why I give you a printout, okay, of the conservation fund.
Yep.
We were talked about it, and I went and got it.
yeah, no, I
Because I thought
appreciate
it was
it.
something you wanted.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it, I haven't had a chance to look at it,
So
but,
the conservation fund is really the money that's going to the Conservation Commission that's held by the treasurer.
right,
And of course, they have in certain cases, they can expend those funds through the treasurer and all that stuff, okay?
okay.
That's a totally separate fund.
Okay, so those other funds that are held by the town, that are, I'm gonna call them trust funds, those don't show up in here either.
No, the trust funds will show up separately in the audit.
Okay,
Your capital reserve and trust funds are totally separate. And your revolving funds are totally separate.
okay,
You know, for example, if you look at some of the revolving funds, you'll see fund balances in there too. This is the general fund, the major operation, day-to-day operation of the town.
okay, all right, I just wanted to make sure those weren't being lumped in to inflate the
And
number.
when you get the audit, you'll see all the other funds.
Okay,
I've already looked at them on our own accounting system.
all right,
Okay.
all right,
You know, there's like funds for police details, and there's different, they have different fund numbers.
Yeah.
So the first two digits of the account pertain to
Hmm.
the fund number, and 01 is the general fund. And that's what you're looking at, just that. But the audit will cover the whole thing.
Yep,
And we're probably gonna, I'm probably gonna get together with the auditors and suggest streamlining some of these other funds so they're a little more readable.
okay, that's all I wanted to make sure of.
You know, and you gentlemen have signed that, then I have to go online to a state portal and send it in, and once they have that signed by the selectmen, then they'll go through and make sure it fits their records right.
And then we'll get our tax rate set.
Well, we gotta make sure, at that point, once this is reviewed by them, we have turned in everything we need for a tax rate setting. So anything that delays the tax rate doesn't come from here. Because there's three things that had to go in. Estimated revenues, those are in. And they can be redone at the time of tax rate setting when you have more revenue detail. And then the MS1, which is the statement of valuation, that from the Board of Assessors is in. Okay, and approved by the state.
Just swing
And so-
across.
Once this is approved by the state, we're golden. But don't forget, we have this paperwork that's required from the school too. And the county.
Have you heard how they're doing?
I got the impression that they were on track.
Oh,
Okay, so
good. So we might not have a delayed billing this
I
year.
don't expect a delay billing. No.
That I can say would apply to we're in New Ipswich, we're in the dark. Last year I was sitting there, where's my tax bill? This guy's got it down pat. We could play air hockey
You
here.
do that with a beer mug?
Used to be a bartender.
That answers the question then, doesn't it? Okay. So we got that, okay. Next thing I got is a property auction. I got this proposed agreement with James St. Jean Auctioneers.
Okay.
And what it comes down to is, it works this way. If we give them, I think it's the 5 or 6 items, what is it? 6 items, 6 town-owned properties, okay? Remember, we pulled one out, okay? So we give them the properties to auction. We don't put any caveats on it, we just auction them. You know, even if there's somebody in the house, we auction it with the person in the house.
Would the buyers be informed
Oh,
of
yeah.
such a situation?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yes, yes.
Yeah,
We don't
you-
hide anything.
Yeah.
okay?
You have to make full disclosure
Yeah.
of anything you're aware of.
And he's aware of everything, and this guy does a really outstanding job. He gets most of the work in the state like this. And there's no cost to us. And services provided, the auction's posted on their website for 3 weeks prior to sale. Okay, and if time permits, they'll mark some boundary lines on the property, at least along the road. Signs displaying on all properties that have road frontage. Auction brochure mailed to abutters of all auction properties. Okay, so the abutters will all be notified, which is smart, because maybe they have an interest. Brochures will be provided to the town for posting in town hall and other public places, which means we can put them up on our website too. Copies of purchase and sale agreement brochures and plot plans properly displayed at auction sale. We will prepare those, and after talking to him and talking to our attorney, I would suggest that we have the attorney do it, because we can add that to our costs. Because if we go over a certain amount, then we have to go hunt for the person.
Yep,
In one
understood.
case, it could tie it up for forever, because I know the owner's dead, okay? And
Yep.
there's no estate to play with it.
So what, can you back up a little bit? What
Yeah.
was,
So what happens is if you're within 3 years according to law, and now case law or something went to the Supreme Court, says maybe all the time, if the amount of money that we need to recover, all our fees and all our past due taxes and interest and all that stuff, let's say that comes to $10,000, but we sell a parcel of land for 50 grand, we gotta go find the owner, former owner, or their estate or heirs and give them 40 grand. That could drive us nuts.
so how do we not have to do that then?
Well, it used to be if you waited long enough, you wouldn't have to do it, but there
And you
there
would
was a
just
case
get all
of-
the money?
You get all the money, but there was a case in the Supreme Court a year or two ago, and it was out of Bedford, New Hampshire, and the Supreme Court said, you will go find them and pay the difference. Well, it wasn't hard to find, they were right there.
Yeah.
So,
That seems how, to me, in my mind, that seems like how it should be. We
Well,
take
that's
what,
the- we
we
should
take
have-
what you owe us, and, I mean, probably there's a whole other list of lien holders who take the rest, but whatever, but that we don't profit off of.
I forget what the lien was on this property here when we took this property here we got by tax deed. It was either 30 or 50 grand.
Yeah.
Of back taxes and fees and stuff, and it was bank owned, and the bank didn't wanna put the money in because they didn't know if there was stuff out back to worry about. And so we wound up taking it, and then we did a brownfields grant to check out the backyard, and it came back pretty good, and was taken care of with a grant. So,
But so now I just would
yeah,
like to understand the process here. So a property gets auctioned off, and the housing market is through the roof right now. And
Yeah.
the bidding goes up to 400,000, and this person owes the town 30,000. Now what happens?
well, ethically and morally, I don't think the town should be taking the money. That's what I think you just said, right?
That's what I said previously. Yeah, I'm curious.
So-
Well,
So-
then the previous owner,
Takes the balance?
Yeah.
well, if it has been, let me say this the right way. If it has been more than 3 years, we get it all.
But Jim was
Okay.
alluding to the fact that it may not be that way.
But somebody would have to challenge it.
I see.
If it is less than 3 years, then we have to find the previous owner or his heirs and distribute the money back to the differential.
So now, I'm sorry for this
No,
long sideways
this
thing,
is-
but
this
now
is-
you had talked
this is
about
good.
hiring the attorney.
So what I was getting at was, to spend a few bucks to have the attorney prepare the deeds and that sort of stuff, and look it over, is worth it because we can recoup that.
Right, that would be part of our costs that we
Yeah.
wouldn't have to pay if we
Okay.
did it ourselves.
So it wouldn't come out of our legal.
No, it,
Nothing, we're, you know, we're gonna, you
It
know,
would essentially be all on the buyer. This whole thing is all on the buyer.
right, the whole thing's that way. We might have some legal expenses that we charge, but then we would get to keep more. And
Right.
so it would be offset by the revenue.
Yeah.
It would show up as an expense,
Mhm.
but I'm talking hundreds of dollars, not
yeah,
thousands.
but here's the kicker, Jason, is, let's assume, $30,000 is owed in back taxes on a piece of property. The auctioneer sells it off for $20,000, okay? He gets his percentage of that, and we haven't even talked about his percentage.
It's a buyer's premium,
Oh, so the buyer pays
That's
the,
a top loaded.
okay,
yeah.
okay.
That goes
But
on.
we are still on the hook for the legal fees to prepare the deeds to the lawyer,
It isn't much.
which is probably a few $100s.
They're quitclaim deeds.
Right.
I did 74 of them at one auction.
Yeah, no, I.
They can be done, but the thing is, they have the template, they can knock them out real
Right.
quick.
Mm.
And you get an extra set of eyes on it,
Yeah,
and it's worth it.
yeah. So, I mean, we can do it that way, but, you know, whether we sell it for an overage or an underage, the attorney's fees are the same.
And we get what we get. There's no,
And if we do it in
Minimum bid.
mass,
There's no minimum bid. But I've done a number of auctions with these guys, and it's amazing, they do pretty good.
yeah, no, but I wanted to go back to that premium, the top loading you're
Yeah.
referring to. Do the buyers give the auctioneer a fee of some sort?
Yes.
Okay. Is that a fee contingent on the purchase?
10% buyer's premium charged to buyer.
Okay, so if the buyer buys something for $20,000, then he owes the auctioneer $2,000. Okay, just want to make sure.
that's pretty common
Now-
in auction.
Now, the way these typically work is that there's a retained deposit. And so, and then the deeds are prepared, because you don't know who's buying it, okay? And so, if the person puts a deposit down, but then fails to show up, and I mean show up very quickly, like a week or two.
Yeah.
Okay? The thing can go back up for sale again.
Yep.
Okay? And 50% of the retained deposits, St. Jean would get, and we would keep 50% of the retained deposit if the person failed to complete it.
Complete
So
transaction.
there's that in there. But the thing about it is, this doesn't affect our budget.
No. But,
Well,
but,
it'll affect our revenue.
well, it,
Yeah.
yeah, but the monies, I believe, go into the general fund?
They go into the general fund and become part of the fund balance.
Right, okay,
And this, and he's proposing to do this in January, so it won't affect
all right.
this year's. And, you know, some of these properties aren't gonna go for a heck of a lot. No, okay?
Yeah, yeah, just a side note, I don't believe that the selectmen can bid on these. And are there any others who are prohibited from bidding?
Maybe you shouldn't bid, but your wife could.
That's how,
That's how you circumvent the situation.
I think if one of the selectmen had an interest in bidding on it, then that selectman should declare that they have an interest and stay back. Okay, in other words, don't get involved in the process.
Right.
On that one,
Right,
on all the others, yeah.
sure.
so there is no laws
No, a
restricting.
little piece of trivia history from the town, when the town used to have tax sales. Many years ago, the selectmen had a policy that they would put everything out for one bid. You had to buy everything that was on the tax sale.
Wow, making land moguls.
And there was one person who kept buying it all up. I'm not gonna mention names or anything, okay? But they wound up with odd pieces of land all over the town. Because a lot of it was a chunk here
Oh,
and a
yeah,
chunk there.
yeah.
This is probably 60 years ago, before I came here. But I learned about it because, why does this person own this and this and that? You know, and that's how I found out. So, yeah, the selectmen could. And there was a court case that got involved between the school district, which wanted a piece of land that was next, adjacent to the school, and they couldn't get it. Because they couldn't go out and bid for every piece of loose land in town, okay? So they went to court and they lost. The court ruled that the town had the right to do it that way.
Sell it as one chunk.
One chunk, and of course it went for a lot less, the pieces would have gone for more. So, anyway, this is the agreement.
Do we need to approve the agreement?
You just have to sign it.
Sign it.
Or you can approve it, and I can sign it, I think, yes. If you authorize me to sign it, I can do it. I've signed these before.
We did authorize you last week, did we not?
I believe we
Okay,
did,
but I just got this.
unless you want us to confirm it.
I want to confirm it.
Have the minutes been finalized yet?
No.
All right.
I haven't
Just
read.
confirm it. Just
Jason, why don't we confirm it? I move that we authorize Jim to sign the option agreement.
Okay.
I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
I would prefer it that way rather than alluding to something from a week or two before. This is fresh, I just got this from them, I told them to send it to them. Okay. We got a fuel agreement with Cedar Valley for propane. And this, I believe I was authorized to sign. I guess this is just an FYI. And what we ended up with is $1.779 a gallon.
$1.779
Gallon.
per gallon.
Okay, and to fit in with this, Doug Waite, we gave Doug Waite the information, and what we're calculating is what the budget for fuel and heating expenses this coming winter, or coming year, because we got whole new systems in place. We're using different fuels, we got heat pumps, so you're gonna get a budget request based on an engineer's calculation. Okay. So,
Bert
that's,
will like
Yes, but you will, right?
All kinds of spreadsheets available for you.
And I also got from Doug the grant application for, what I call it, it's like it's not a rebate, but it's like an incentive grant for doing the upgrades. It's not a lot of money, it's gonna be about $1,500. But it's worth filling out the paperwork, since he got it all filled out. The only thing I have left to put into it is, I've got to pick some stuff out of when they do the work. In other words, they put this boiler in. I gotta get the cost of the boiler pulled out of, you know, the package, okay? I gotta get the labor for putting that in, pulled out by the vendor. Not hard to do. And then, and just put that in, because I'm getting the rebate, if you will, on this particular piece of equipment, not the whole job.
I see.
Okay, so we're all set to go do that, but we can't fill it out until after the job is done. But he's got us well
Have
ahead.
they started on the fire station yet,
I believe they're starting October 4th. And they've got the signed agreements for the two DPW locations. Okay. Now I got some other stuff. Multiple copies of this. This is a memorandum from the bridge engineer. He designed the bridge.
Oh,
or? Let me make a paper
Just-
airplane out of that.
Just slide
See
it
if I can
across,
do it like
slide it
that.
across. No, you gotta hold it down to the tape.
Okay.
Oh.
This should clearly define the loads the bridge is capable of carrying.
Okay.
Jim, can I get a copy of that, just to throw in there for property
Oh,
file?
yeah, no, I'm gonna give it to you.
Okay.
And here's, I'll give you a copy of that. Here's the email that came with it. And
Do you want me to make a copy, or?
no, that's
Oh,
it.
you had it on
Oh.
a two-sided.
Oh, okay,
The email is on the other side.
okay, good.
Nope, this doesn't even come close.
Huh?
Doesn't even come close
To what?
to what I was asking for last time we discussed it.
Yeah, this is the same thing I shared.
Basically, they're saying everything's fine here, but they're not providing backup information for it.
We wanted to see the calc sheet.
I wanted to see the calcs. I wanted to
We
see,
have a stamp here, and in my mind, this guy will be liable for this report, should it ever go to court.
or should it ever fail?
Yeah, that's what I would say.
Um,
I mean, he does recommend that it be monitored.
Yeah,
I don't see why we, as selectmen,
okay,
need to be monitoring
well,
a driveway
Where-
bridge.
We're not
Okay.
gonna inspect the bridge.
okay, there's two sets of thoughts on something like this. You can accept this and defer all liability to the engineer, Ms. Darrow. And just say, we wash our hands of it. If you say it's good, it's good. The other side of the coin is, do we have enough suspicions? Because she has been evasive, in my opinion, on providing this information to us. Is this word good enough that we are willing to drive our fire engines and any other emergency equipment over a bridge on her say-so without seeing the calculations and risk the possible safety of our people?
I don't look at it from that perspective.
Okay.
Because I look at, if my house starts on fire,
Yep.
now I have a relatively short driveway, but supposing my driveway, I've just, well, it's not too far from it now. Let the maintenance go so that the trucks can't come up my driveway.
Yeah,
Now, the town bears no responsibility whatsoever for that. Or supposing I built my own rickety bridge across there. The fire department's gonna come, they're gonna look, they're gonna make their call, what they're gonna do here, and they're gonna do what they're gonna do. For us to go onto people's properties and make sure that every house has good access for emergency vehicles is, in my mind, that's crazy, and that's what I think we're flirting with this.
okay.
You said, if I could just interject a thought. From what I've been able to gather and look at, this person's designed a lot of bridges, and most of them for towns, not for people in town.
Mm-hmm.
Municipal highway bridges. I've been involved in putting some together. Unless it was buried in the back of a book somewhere, I never saw the calculation sheets. Okay, and they just, I mean, the engineer had stuff, okay? And in particular cases, I was involved with precast
Yep.
concrete bridges. I mean, what she's giving you here is what the load is, which is 40,000 pounds per axle.
Right, right.
And they've run heavy equipment already over this bridge with no problem.
Okay.
They've
Alright.
cut logs.
Now-
And the last question, and I know where you're coming from for safety wise, I understand that. But my thought is, does the Board of Selectmen have authority over a driveway internal to a property? And I don't think you do. You have control over the driveway cut to your road. But once you get back in there, the only thing you have are setbacks and wetlands crossings and all that other stuff.
All right.
That's how I look at it.
Okay, I'm gonna come at it from a different perspective. I'm a professional engineer in the state of New Hampshire, you know that, right?
Yeah,
Okay, I've designed a lot of bridges as well. And I've also worked for towns and cities, designing their bridges. And before they will accept a design, they go through a rigorous review process, whether it's on private property or for public usage. They demand to see not only the design drawings, but also the calculations that make it solid and real and all the other good things, you know, viable for use. So the Board of Selectmen does have the authority to ask for those things. Now, going back to my first comment was, if we do so, we assume the liability for those calculations. If we accept this letter point blank, we leave the liability with the design engineer.
In essence, with the property owner,
And the property owner.
that makes sense.
which
I mean-
is how I believe it should be.
Well, it depends what approach you take to public safety. Are you the lone guard at the gate, or do you let, everything but suspicious characters pass?
Well,
And,
with this though, if we were to take on this kind of a liability, which, that's what I'm seeing. So if I remember, I was talking with Sean, and you and Susan were talking, you were clarifying what you were looking for. And I overheard that you wanted a list, you wanted to be able to pick from 3 different engineers, and they would give us the names, and I'm thinking, wait a minute, where are we going with this?
Yep.
But I didn't say anything, but it does not make sense to me. Why we would assume liability for everybody's driveways?
well,
Because
we're
the
not,
minute we interject,
we're
start
not
demanding
talking
these
just a
things,
driveway here, Jason. We are talking a bridge.
But it is their driveway.
It is part of their driveway, but it's a bridge, and it does have safety concerns.
When I look at this letter, this engineer recommends that somebody reviews this bridge within 5 years.
And
I don't believe that that's the town's responsibility.
it is not the town's responsibility.
It would be similar to, I build a house.
But I'm gonna tell you-
The architect recommends you.
But I'm
have your
gonna
roof
tell you
inspected
point blank, those
before.
inspections will never happen.
Which is up to the owner.
It's up to the owner. Okay,
So why would we get involved in
So-
the first place?
I will go with my first suggestion, that we accept this, with the caveat that we also take this letter and pass it on to Chief Lund
Already done.
for her files, so that she can make the determination you suggested earlier. If she
Yeah,
wants to bring her,
which she will
if she
anyways.
wants to bring her equipment across, she can bring her equipment across. If she does not wish to bring her equipment across, that's fine too.
If I could just interject one last thought is, this is sort of an academic discussion in a way, because if one accepts or doesn't accept this letter or this standard, okay? Let's say the town accepts it, that's nice, now what? Nothing happens. If you don't accept it, the only thing this person's gonna come looking for from the town is a building permit.
Yep.
And it raises the question, is can the town withhold a building permit because they got a bridge on their driveway?
Absolutely not.
So this whole thing is a question, maybe looking toward the future, if somebody puts up a major bridge on a driveway, or you could have problems with a large culvert,
Oh, yeah.
okay, that doesn't have the carrying capacity.
Or it collapses due to age.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, so I don't know if we even have anything to accept.
Uh,
They gave us this,
I-
I think
I-
we file it.
I think effectively we close our eyes and say, okay, thank you very much,
And give it to the fire chief.
and give it to the fire chief.
Susan's-
I gave it to her, she didn't have any issues with it,
Okay.
or she didn't share any issues
That's fine.
with it. It's in
Yeah, I
progress.
think
It's a done deal.
Okay.
Next.
So, okay. Okay,
Item number 6.
item number 6.
Another little fire you started, Bert.
Me? I
Oh, I
didn't.
know where you're coming from, safety, general public safety.
General public safety, I'm big on that.
Did you have 2 of them?
Hmm?
You had 2
I
of them?
have 2,
Let me see if I can get this one.
and I have,
Oh, I did it again. This time I'll
You,
get it.
you put it flat and then slide. Flat and slide. Too much oomph. There you go.
You need to give me a spreadsheet on
You,
this.
you gotta get it more towards Bert so that,
We're gonna work on your technique there.
so it doesn't get the lift from the,
Football, goalpost.
what you got next is
Ah,
communication from the Board of Assessors who met last night.
okay. All right.
Board of Assessors has voted 3-0 to merge our existing assessing data from the Avatar assessing system to our existing tax maps.
No.
So this has nothing to do with GIS.
It does, it is GIS.
It is, but it isn't. Now, we have, no, you have to understand here, we have a current contract with, what is it, CAI?
CAI.
Okay, they maintain our tax maps. There's an item in our general budget for them to maintain our tax maps. Am I correct?
That is correct.
Okay, so that was voted and approved by town warrant to
Take care of our tax.
to
maps.
take care of our tax maps in general, to update them as necessary, and so forth. What you're doing is you're adding assessing data. Now, does that cost extra money to CAI?
Above and beyond the basic maintenance, but the money exists in the assessor's budget. And the article created all new tax maps really, merging data would have been a side thing to it. The thrust of that article was to make all new tax.
Right. You're talking about the standalone warrant article, not the general operating budget.
The general operating budget has all the tax maps and maintenance in it.
Right, exactly.
And one of the things that we couldn't do with the previous maintainer of the tax maps
Right,
was merge the data, because they weren't set up to go do it,
right,
okay? We would have had to have done it, would have been a nightmare,
yes.
okay? CAI will take the data from Avatar, and they will merge it with the tax maps, the GIS system. And there's nothing wrong with calling it a GIS, because that's what it is. We're just not making new maps.
I understand that.
And so.
I'm just concerned that we're entering a pretty gray area here.
With who?
With the RSA 3210.
I don't believe that at all.
I'm concerned, I mean, I understand that the assessors have money in their budget. The minute, and the standalone warrant article this past March specifically spoke about GIS, correct?
Right, but it was GIS to begin with.
Okay,
It's the accuracy of the GIS.
okay. We're not talking accuracy, that's splitting hairs. We're talking creating a GIS system. And when you add assessing data, which is GIS data, to the tax maps, you're creating a GIS system. Am I correct?
I don't think so. You're not creating something. I mean, you may create something new, or merge. If you take
Well,
A and B and put them together, you got something new. Okay, granted. Okay.
yeah,
But right now, if I go into our Avatar assessing system,
yeah,
in-house,
yep,
it's got the ability to bring up the map. It's just never been hooked up. And what we're looking at doing is hooking it up.
okay,
We're not creating new tax maps. It's the same bloody old tax map.
yeah.
And you're staying within the line on the
We're
budget.
staying within our overall budget.
What's
doing
the
it.
issue?
The issue is that we had a warrant article that talked about GIS systems. It was defeated. And
It-
basic,
Map update.
and it was, and because it was defeated, it means the voters voted against having a GIS system.
No.
I don't
we didn't.
believe that that's necessarily true.
That's what updating the tax maps is. It's a GIS system.
It is, but we didn't.
Right, but it's also a financial item, and it may not be that they voted against the map. It may be they voted against the
Well,
money.
if it mentioned that sort of mechanism, I believe it's a GIS. Yeah, and because it was defeated, even in part, or if it even mentions that sort of stuff, I don't believe the monies can be expended under RSA
The
3210.
doctrine of no means no, okay?
Yeah.
Is what you're talking about. And if you read the article, the special article in its entirety, it creates, forget the terminology GIS, that's all meaningless. It creates
It's not
a
even
whole
in
new
here.
set of tax maps, which would have had all new numbers and everything else. It creates everything from scratch
Yep.
over a period of a couple of years.
Yes, I understand, and it was
Okay,
a
this-
significant.
Not only
is
that, it
nothing more-
creates a new committee.
Yeah, and a committee. This is nothing more than saying, I got data here in this widget, and I got data over here, I'm putting the two together, which is something we plan on doing all along anyway.
Yeah, but
We're
It-
not making new maps.
Does the source of the data matter? I mean, for instance, there's data at the Registry of Deeds. There's data from public sources.
We can go and get data from, let's say, UNH,
Yep,
and we could take our tax maps, and we can put them online. They are online anyway.
Yep.
But I can put them online differently,
yep,
okay? Right now, they're online as a bunch of PDF files. I can put them online as an overlay.
yeah. Oh, you
I can
can,
do that
you can do a lot of things
Okay.
with that.
without violating no means no.
Yeah,
All we're doing here is saying, let's take the data that we have, the assessing data. Let's be able to go into the tax map or to the assessment
mm-hmm,
and click on one and see the other.
okay,
Okay, that's all we're
Okay.
talking about doing.
okay,
We're not making anything new.
okay. It seems to me you're trying to rename the rose. It still smells, but you're renaming it.
Not renaming anything.
Yeah, you're saying, oh, this isn't a GIS system, this is
No,
a,
it is a GIS.
The article says nothing about GIS
but,
system.
but the definition in there, it effectively defines a GIS system.
But we already have a GIS system. The article talks about making another GIS system.
Well,
All it talks about is updating and recompiling.
look, I'm willing to dance through the raindrops, and I agree that this is a great idea. I have no objection to the idea, and if I felt that it was appropriate, I'd be on board. My feeling is, I think this is a legal question, not only for your portion that you'd like to do via the assessors, but also for the larger question of what Conservation Commission would like to do. I think both questions need to be asked to council, maybe the NHMA, before, and hand them a copy of the article, tell them exactly what you would like to do, tell them exactly what Conservation would like to do, and get a reading on both. And if they're both legal, great, let them go. If neither one's legal, we stop it here and now.
Couldn't this be done through an HMA?
Yeah.
For no charge?
Yes, yes,
So
that's
why
what,
would we go to the?
no, I'm
Why
saying,
would we tap into our legal budget?
no, I'm saying, council, whether it's NHMA or, our personal attorneys, I don't care which one. I just want a legal reading on this before we go charging ahead.
Part of this coming from the Board of Assessors is a statement of who controls it. The Board of Assessors controls everything to do with assessing. That
Yes,
would normally belong to Selectmen
right,
in a town that doesn't have a Board of Assessors. So I can tell you the Board of Assessors does not see the control of tax maps having anything to do with the Conservation Commission,
no,
certainly at all.
no.
And they feel, and the Board of Assessors feels that they control the maintenance of the maps over the selectmen, because they are effectively the selectmen of the maps.
Right up until it becomes the expenditure of funds and potentially the misappropriation of funds. That is the question. If that warrant article had not failed, I would say, go ahead, absolutely.
If it had not failed, it would already be started.
We'd be doing some other stuff. But because that article failed, how does it impact what the assessors would like to do and what conservation would like to do?
Well, I have no problem getting a legal opinion.
If we can get a legal opinion, I will,
Are you saying
Forward.
that from this day forward, the assessors no longer have authority to maintain the maps?
I am saying they can maintain the maps in their
And
current,
ensure that they're correctly
in
shown?
their current condition.
But these are,
But they
no,
cannot,
it's saying to review every parcel and ensure that it's correctly shown on the tax map. You're saying that because
no,
this financial article was voted down, they no longer can do this.
no.
Merge their assessing
Jason,
data.
no, you're misunderstanding me. They can do what was appropriated under our operating budget.
Which is what this says, right?
which is not what, that is not what our operating budget says they can do. No, no. They can maintain the tax maps. They cannot,
Isn't part of that ensuring accurate placement?
but
and-
what they're doing is they're not only ensuring accurate placement, but if you read, they're trying to add existing assessors data, which are not currently part of our existing tax maps, to the tax maps.
Is that,
They're separate.
so what kind of data is this? Property owner names and
Yeah, in other
stuff
words,
like
in
that?
other words, if you go to the assessing
Yeah,
data, and you look at the assessing screen, there's a place where you can click on it and get the map. But unless you link the map to the assessing data, you get nothing, you get, it's blank.
Correct.
Right now, I've gone on the tax maps. What do they call it? There's some kind of portal you go through,
Yeah.
and it takes you like 4 tries to
Yeah.
write
Yeah.
a sequence.
It's a godforsaken mess what they are currently dealing with.
And we can end that map.
And you can end that
Couple
mess.
keystrokes.
But what I am concerned about is by merging those two databases, which is what you really have, and expending additional funds.
But if it's within the budget, so let's back
Well,
off.
that's just it. It is, to maintain the maps is within the budget.
But isn't there a
to-
line item?
There
Is there a line item to merge the data?
there's not a line item that specifically merges.
Then
data.
what is the line item
The
that?
line item is to maintain maps.
Exactly.
And to update the maps as needed.
Update. Does not say add to, it says update.
We're not adding to.
Yes, you are, by adding
Oh, no.
the existing assessing data. That's an addition. It's not there now.
Like I said, I don't have a problem, we'll get a legal opinion.
I want,
It sounds like you want a legal opinion. I think it's crazy. I think if.
oh, I
if
think,
there's-
I,
If there's,
I'm
an
s-
improvement gonna be made for both the Board of Assessors, there's no impact on the budget, and an improvement made for Bert when he goes and accesses the system with his engineering work, and
Okay.
because of this,
Becau-
I have a hard time believing no means that the assessing, Board of Assessors can no longer maintain that.
What if-
I didn't say that. I
No,
did
I
not.
know, but that's kind of what.
That's not what I said. I said they can absolutely maintain exactly what they have now.
But what you're saying is they can't make any improvement.
They cannot make improvements this fiscal year.
But they're not trying to make those improvements.
It-
We'll get
They're
an
similar,
opinion.
they're similar.
Yeah, it does sound like this won't be,
If
we
it's
won't be
a,
satisfied here at this meeting with
I,
our discussion.
I'd like a legal opinion for this plus
Okay.
what conservation's trying to do.
And I think,
And I think that's
it'd be
reasonable.
pointless to call it to a vote, because it would be a tie vote.
It would be a tie vote.
We don't have 2 people here, so.
Go ahead.
Stephen Buckley, would he,
He was actually the person who informed me of the RSA
okay,
And the potential.
and the potential for misappropriation of funds.
he's part of NHMA, and
Yeah,
that's a
I
pretty
think
phone
I've
call.
spoke with him.
Yeah,
I think
That's
we,
why I said it.
I would say we get that in writing, because you're gonna have to send them a copy of the warrant article,
Right.
the copy of the assessors vote, and, whatever, conservation would like to do. Written copies of all 3 documents.
Okay.
Would
Because,
you be willing to submit that to him, or to the
Yeah,
NHMA?
I get, in some ways, I know Buckley's free, but I don't think this is gonna take very long. I would prefer we give it to our town council.
Would you?
And I have no reason to suspect you'd come up with a different
um,
analysis than Buckley, but a lot of times when you go to the NHMA, they say, well, and also check with your town council.
yeah, I know they say
That's the
that.
final part of the phrase of the sentence, and check with your town council. I'd rather go to our town council.
I would like to find out what we can legally do within the law. Simple as that.
That's
And,
reasonable.
and if they say, great, I'm all for it, because I think it's a good idea. I just want to make sure we're doing it the right way.
So do the Board of Selectmen have to authorize the Board of Assessors to shift their monies or use their monies for this? Is that Well, that's what we
I
need to
think
find
the
out.
board- I think the Board of Assessors have a certain amount of autonomy because they can do everything related to assessing, abatements, warrants, and that would include hiring and, you know,
Yeah.
technical expertise and everything else.
Yeah.
So the Board of Assessors have the same rights over the assessing end of things that a Board of Selectmen would have.
Yeah, I mean, the Board of Selectmen, or the Board of Assessors, excuse me, has the right to shift funds within their department, if you will, as long as they stay within budget.
Right.
And if it's a legal shifting of funds, everything's fine. Simple as that.
Yeah, the bottom line for the Board of Assessors would not be overspent.
That's fine. So they don't need, we've never, except for certain items, big ticket items, delved down into department budgets. Like, for instance, when Peter comes to us and wants to buy a loader, yeah, we look at it, we talk about it.
But the Board of Assessors is not a department.
No, it's an independent. Is it
It's got a
elect,
certain amount of autonomy.
it's an appointed board though, right?
Absolutely not.
No, it's an elected
All
board?
elected.
Elected, okay, excuse me.
So that does give a
That-
level of
Uh,
autonomy.
Autonomy, yes, it does.
So then, before we go to the legals,
I don't think.
we're dealing with Board of the Conservation Commission,
We're also,
who is autonomous.
no, they are not, they are appointed.
Oh, they are.
They are an appointed board,
Many of which appointments have run out.
yes.
That's another story, but.
Another
But
sto-
now, do we direct them how
Mm,
they spend their funds?
no.
Or was that directed?
No, that is
When they
part
were
of that. They would,
formed.
my understanding, and some correspondence has gone around and around this week. I don't know if you've read some of it.
I think I was included. in
CC'd
one.
on some of the items.
I don't know, I can't speak for the other two members of the Board of Assessors, okay, but I don't think there would be a majority objection to getting a legal opinion if the selectmen would like to see a legal
Okay.
opinion.
Okay,
That's
my
fair.
feeling is, the selectmen oversee the funds in the town. Every department, every elected board, period.
Right,
We are the buck stops here. Whether it's an elected board or a non-elected board. We have to oversee that because we sign the dotted line on all those documents, not these other boards. So we can ask for an opinion regardless of whether the assessors would like an opinion or not.
well, certainly you can ask, you know,
So we can authorize Mr. Coffey here to go to our council or to NHMA and obtain an opinion based on the documents that we have in hand.
But my question to you is, the buck stops here. What's the point of all the other departments and committees if every time they go to do something, we need to hover over and make sure
No.
that RSA 496-37 C, and D are,
This
That's
is a special case because of that warrant article. That is the only thing driving this. Otherwise,
is it because it was submitted by petition as well?
no, it has nothing to do with that.
Nothing to do with that.
It was mostly, if the taxpayers had said yes about it, this would not even be an issue. It would have just,
But you're only pulling one piece of this article.
all it takes is one piece.
So if they would have lined up the dollar amounts, that could be an issue.
Dollars doesn't matter either. Could be $1 or it could be $100,000.
But
The dollar
this
amount.
thing is a multi-layered,
Oh, it's an incredibly complex article.
well, I don't know about incredibly complex, but it has a lot
shouldn't
of.
be incredibly complex. I wrote it.
That's why it's
Trying to confuse
complex.
us. Do you have anything to add to this conversation, Alan? I've seen your.
I'm in favor of legal counsel in depth, and the one thing that sold me on that was that Mr. Coffey said, if it hadn't been defeated, we've been so far into it this year. Which tells me that it's the fact that it was defeated is holding them up, which means it is tied together somehow, in his mind. Otherwise, he would not have said that if it hadn't been defeated, we'd have been 3/4 of the way through it by now. So it's that warrant article that's holding it up, and no does mean no, even in New Ipswich.
Well, I agree, can I just answer this? I agree, no means no, but, as far as if it had passed, I think what I was getting at, we would have gone and done this anyway, but doing this up front wasn't necessarily part of that article. That article was to go and have somebody go to the registry of deeds, pull every deed, take a giant map of the town, have flyovers, satellite imagery,
It doesn't-
all the roofs, all the roof silhouettes would be within 6
In my opinion,
inches.
it doesn't matter what it's for, the argument is
No.
not what it does, its argument is whether or not the voters said no.
They
And it
said no to
applies.
doing all
Therefore,
that.
the legal
Oh, I
line
totally,
should override.
I
But
totally
tax
agree with
maps
that.
are continually updated. That's why it gets kind of complex, because
Well,
that is
let's get a
the
legal,
article.
let's get a legal opinion. I
So
mean,
just get a legal opinion and solve it that way. And
Doesn't-
since we're so far at the end of the year, if you wait a few months,
Yeah,
it no longer applies after the 1st of December. I mean, the 1st of
and,
January.
and you know
It's a good
something,
academic
this is a
question.
great idea, I'm all for it, I just wanna make sure the legal ducks in a row.
So we have two questions. Not one, we have two.
Yes, we do,
And they're very different.
they are.
They're totally different. So let's ask the question, and
Yep.
we'll get an answer.
And
So one is regarding the Board of Assessors.
One is
and
regarding
other
the
is
vote of the
regarding
Board of Assessors.
Yep.
the Conservation Commission.
And the Conservation Commission suggestion that wasn't voted on.
right. What they would like to do, or have intimated they would like to do, we should be able to advise them.
Well, we
So
can.
how is our legal budget?
Oh,
looking this
we've
year?
hardly touched it.
And this isn't gonna be a,
No.
3,000.
This is, no, it's not a big ticket item. This is,
You know, but I
a
do want,
written inquiry followed by a response.
right,
Okay, which we can probably have fairly quickly.
yeah, hopefully for the next meeting, and we put it to
Should
bed.
we bypass NHMA and go straight to legal?
That'd be fine,
Okay,
I'm good.
so I get it when
You
I.
comfortable with that?
I'll move, we authorize Jim to
Okay.
speak to council regarding Article 14.
Yeah, and present council with the appropriate
I mean,
documents.
going back to the same guy you went to, looks like we're looking for a different answer. Sometimes you go back and you ask the question
Yeah,
again.
I would love to hear it from a different source,
Okay,
so,
All right.
second,
All in favor?
aye.
okay, that's, and quite frankly, you know, we have a little argument. I think that's the right way to go.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like I'm gonna convince anybody of anything with my
Okay.
opinions. They don't seem to hold much weight legally. I'm gonna take a short back and
Okay.
Okay.
I could use a drink, so.
And I think we should be able to move along fairly quickly here.
We're taking 5, Jim. Taking 5, I'm gonna
You gotta come back, I didn't hear a motion.
Well, assume since they both went, there's one restroom.
Okay.
We're up there sealed. We've already looked at theirs, but they sent it email and they also sent it sealed, and they broke the sealed envelope in. I didn't realize it was stuck together. Okay, so. town office, they had bid $113,000, which was a low bid. Doug has consulted with them and said that it's clear for us to go accept this low bid. There was some question about some of the other items like electrical work and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And some of the terminology used in the bid, which turned out to be, he was using boilerplate and he
Didn't prove his work.
didn't proof it, okay? But he is a low bidder, so we would like to get this going.
Okay, how much are we talking about?
113,000.
Do we have the money to cover
Yes,
that?
we do.
Okay,
How much is that gonna leave in building maintenance
About 125.
after
Plus what,
all the
plus what,
report
no,
and
plus,
the 30?
yeah, plus what went in this year, because what goes in this year, I couldn't count. You can't take it out the year you put it in. Okay, so we're safe on that. So it fits. But we need to get it going before, although this one here, they could probably do to a large degree, because it's, pretty much in here is heat pumps. Take out the AC, put in heat pumps.
He did say the AC unit here is from the 70s maybe?
Yeah. It gets cold in here. Yes.
It still works.
Yeah,
No,
So that-
well,
Huh?
one end is freezing cold and the other end is like an oven,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, my
That's
office is
fine.
comfortable in here, they're in here with coats on.
Yeah,
Do you have
It's
a
July.
office in there?
we run the heaters at this end. We run our heaters in our offices,
Cause
Like-
it's so cold?
cause it's
The
so cold.
distribution isn't, it's not balanced well, okay? So anyway, what we're gonna end up with is there's two oil burners in this building, okay? And they're not touching the oil burners at this time. So these two are gonna get serviced for the fall. None of the others are gonna get serviced because they're going out. The one back here, and then the oil boiler, and the DBW, and the one at the fire station, they're going out as junkers, okay, they're old. And what they're gonna do is put heat pumps in here, and when the oil burners won't kick on until the temperature outside is so cold that the heat pump can't keep up.
So them are gonna remain, the old oil burners will remain in place?
Will remain in place here.
Is it using this forced hot air
I have-
system, or are they boilers?
I don't know, I honestly don't
The
know.
heat and the cold comes out of the same vent.
Yeah, so it's a forced air system, yeah.
So, but it's got, probably now will be its own heating system.
And in
maybe
fact,
run
most of
new
the time,
vents,
the heat pump will be doing the job.
which
And then
is-
every once in a while, when it gets real cold, the oil burners will kick in and boost it up.
And that was gonna be done with mini splits, was it not?
With what?
Mini splits?
I don't know.
Did I remember that? Could I see that proposal?
I'm not sure exactly how they were doing it.
Cause there's more than one heat pump being used here, is there? In
I
this
believe so.
proposal?
I believe so.
Yeah. So I think they call them mini splits, or
Okay.
maybe I'm
You're right in front of me.
speaking out of that.
Mitsubishi piping, insulation, refrigerant controls, electrical ceiling work, concrete pad. Town office.
Doesn't sound like these.
So it's a VRF Mitsubishi system. Okay.
that sounds like a outside condenser with piping to whatever,
Existing ductwork.
existing-
most likely.
Right.
yeah,
Probably improved ductwork, I would assume.
yeah, I mean, part of it's probably the distribution system.
That's a question for Doug, but, I'll bring that up to
Yeah,
him.
and that.
I mean, I'm not familiar with how the project was designed and stuff. Did Doug design the project?
Doug Wade
Yeah.
designed it.
Okay, so,
I have confidence in it.
I mean, I don't know the gentleman, but I assume he knows what he's doing with systems.
Yeah,
He has a lot of experience with.
full disclosure, my son works for him as well.
All right.
Although Doug isn't really profiting anything off of this, this was all volunteer work.
Doug did this volunteer,
Well, appreciate it.
yeah. And he's helping us the grant application volunteer.
Okay, so, yeah,
If you'll authorize me to sign on this, I'll get this thing going.
yeah, with some appropriate questions
Was
to
that-
Mr. Waite.
Was that portion voted on in my absence?
Not that I recall, but we can revote it,
What portion's that?
to accept
The
the
portion for this-
KPE,
The portion for here has not been voted on.
yeah,
It was
This-
left out. What you voted on earlier was the DPW and the fire station.
right,
And we held this out because there was some concern.
mm-hmm,
Which was right there.
The low bidder, Doug had questions,
right.
and Doug's got the questions answered.
And,
So can I see it?
and I think there was a question about, if we had sufficient funds.
Well, we answered that question right in the beginning.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
Do you wanna see it?
No, I don't need to see a contract. I could look at drawings, contracts.
And basically, there's a copy of, you know, I got Doug's response to me was, he sent it to myself and Sean, with these adjustments, you're ready to go. Okay, and so it's,
Yep.
with these adjustments. So
Okay,
when I sign it, I will sign it with these adjustments and attach it to it.
okay, so
That's for
13,
$113,000.
yep.
Was there any, contingencies in there?
Anyway,
Contingencies or anything? You know, like at the roof, we had, it'll be this much if there's rotted roof get repaired.
no, there's
So there's
no,
nothing,
nothing in there. like that.
nothing needed
No,
for this.
Nothing needed for that.
Okay. I move that we accept Mr. Waite's recommendations to, for the town office project in the amount of $113,000, and we authorize Mr. Coffey to sign on behalf of the Board of Selectmen.
And I believe this is the company we're awarding the contract to.
And we award the contract to KPMB Enterprises.
Yeah, they're from Kentucky, New Hampshire.
Yep.
I'll second it.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, I got a letter from the fire chief, which is, oops, I didn't get it here. Okay. Get another shot at it.
Here we go.
Oh, almost. We're working on
It
that.
ain't happening. I'm gonna make a paper airplane next time.
That works for me.
Oh, thank you, sir.
Okay?
We're on TV.
What was the name of that company again? KPMB?
KPMB.
Hey.
Okay. So what we have here is a letter from the fire chief with her request for consideration of certain items of the fire department under the ARPA grant. And my response to her was that I would forward it to the selectmen and put the letter in the ARPA grant file, because nobody's made any decisions yet as to where or how we're spending money.
All right, let me just add on to that a little bit. I did attend that conference last Tuesday,
Oh, the one after
on
our
our,
meeting.
one after our meeting. The full guidance has not been provided by the federal government. Still, and they're not gonna get it until sometime second week of October.
But the report is due October 1st.
We
Well-
voted to accept without,
Without knowing what we're
Clue.
doing.
this is not
That
my
is,
ideal.
well, I don't think it's anybody's ideal. The presenters didn't seem to have a problem with that. But one of the things they did mention at the conference was that if we have not expended or committed any of the funds, we may not need to provide the report on the 31st
Of October,
of October.
that's Halloween.
Yeah. So we may not have to do anything other than continue to collect ideas. However, the federal government must provide us this additional technical guidance on spending and reporting procedures by the 31st of October. But at this point, we still do not exactly know how to commit the funds.
So this.
Or if there are, as you are concerned about, additional strings.
Well, I thought I remembered last year some towns getting burned and businesses getting burned because they used the money and then the federal government came sometime later and said, no, we didn't mean that. Well, didn't that happen?
It has happened more than once,
Yeah,
in more
I'm not
than,
interested.
and including New Ipswich. So I think basically we still have to take a wait-and-see approach to this thing
I would agree.
before we commit to anything, but I think we can still continue to collect ideas
Sure.
and so forth. And in fact, I've gotten several requests for information from both individuals, non-profits, and businesses as to how they can put their hand in the kitty. I said point blank to them that while I'm sure there are worthy causes out there, I don't think the selectmen want to say or try to go through a decision-making process as to who is deserving and worthy or not.
But if it's a private organization, they don't have to go through the select board's office, they can go straight to the state.
Yeah, but they can't get these funds. They would have to get some other funds. These we can award directly to
To
private individuals who are impacted by COVID, say
Individuals?
individuals, say people who lost their jobs due to
We need to
COVID.
hire some, we're gonna need the
You really
National
are.
Guard, they did the vaccine station, we're gonna need them
I
down
mean,
here with
do
the line of
you
people coming up.
do you want to try to determine who should get funds
No.
like that or not?
I can't,
I can't imagine establishing the criteria.
no. Well,
The whole thing's insane.
that's what I say.
Well,
But at any event, all I was trying to do tonight was let you see what the fire chief requested.
Yeah.
You can keep those copies.
but.
And I put a copy in the folder,
Yeah,
and we'll see what
but
comes out.
they did establish an agency to help us out if we want to, but we'd have to donate $10,000 of the money that we're receiving to get on board with them, or we can continue to manage it ourselves.
It's called shilling.
That sounds like a good deal. I don't think so.
At this point, I'd say no.
No, I would say that would pay for the requested dryer here,
Yeah,
10 grand.
I mean, and
That's,
yeah, so I mean, everybody seems to have their hand in the pot, or trying to get their hand in the pot to grab some of this money. And we haven't even figured out what we're doing with
Did
it.
anybody put an eye to the future generations? Oh, no, that's right, we don't worry about future generations, we just kinda like, hey, give me some money.
Give me some money. So anyway, that was the gist of what came out of that opera conference, and wasn't particularly, it wasn't any real new information per se. So we will hurry up and wait on that.
But, you know, you said you had people coming up to you.
Yeah, I mean.
Today our moderator came and asked me wasn't I directed him to the
Yeah,
NHMA site for information
yep,
and told him we're accepting
ideas,
suggestions.
yeah.
Yep.
That's all we can do
Yeah.
at this point.
I think so.
You know, I mean, we should start collecting those ideas, but, and I think you wrote some of them down in the minutes from our last meeting, but
But to have them,
but at this point, I don't think we can commit the funds, or,
no, but this is really nice.
Yeah.
The chief did.
Yep.
Because it's just laid right out for us.
Yeah, I
It
mean,
requires very little legwork on our part.
it's very straightforward.
No, it's good, and I just wanted you to see it, because I knew we can't go anywhere with it now.
Yep.
But
Well,
it's in the folder, it's a request, it's in the folder, when the time comes, we can pull it out.
yeah,
Along with
well,
everything
well,
else.
the nice part is we have some time. We do not have to commit the funds until December of 2024, and we don't have to expend them until December of 2026. And the second payment for the funds will not be coming until June of 2022 at its earliest. It may be even later than that. So we're gonna see half, we can spend half of it now, which is $260,000 or something like that, and then we'll be able to spend the other half next July or so.
What I like is, it sounds like we're gonna get a little bit of time, and there's gonna be all the other municipalities who are so happy to be dunking into this pot, and we're gonna be able to maybe keep an eye on them, see how it works out for them before we.
Well, they took a survey at the end of this conference about all the towns that representatives from the towns that attended it, and 80% of the towns were clueless as to what they were supposed to do with the money.
Well, because I looked online, I just searched
Yeah,
NH ARPA fund
Yeah.
strings, because I'm the one who motivated that little addition to your motion. And all I could find was towns, it was just giving different towns around the state about how excited they were to just spend as much money as possible. And I'm like, well, where's the strings? But nobody talks about strings. And there may not be. I mean, there's certainly gonna be guidelines.
yeah.
In my perusing around, I'm just gonna do a little side issue here. They have started at the state level to assemble guidelines for the education freedom. It's not complete yet, but there's some information in there if anybody's interested. As usual, it's complicated. It's not like, hey, public schooling this year, here's $500. It doesn't quite work that way.
Okay.
All right, what do we got next?
Okay. Item number 9. I got an email today from, I have a copy here, but I don't think we need to pass that out, from SWRPC, from Henry Underwood, who's the guy putting together the road surface management system.
Okay.
Okay, there's gonna be a delay. He said, I got a procedural delay. I have to wait till after the October directors meeting. Well, I know what it is, okay? Somehow we fell off a list, and they've gotta get it back, and they gotta approve him going out and doing it, and putting it in their budget. It's a procedural thing, the money's there. So he will get back to us when we're gonna have the kickoff meeting. So I just want you to know.
Yeah,
Is this a real help for Peter to get
It
these
can be,
reports?
it can be if you use it right.
This is going to be essential for the next not budget cycle, but when we put both the warrant articles together and the road committee gets finally appointed, and maybe we establish it for real with 3-year terms or some such, to a point where we can list all our roads, list their condition, and then start saying, okay, this was paved in such and such a date, this is the condition of each and every road or segment of road, and this is what we should be looking forward to cycle-wise. And right now we put $600,000 towards it a year, towards road repairs. Is that enough, or is it too much?
Well, the other thing.
Or is it just right? Who knows?
I took a course in this thing a long time ago when the program first came out. And it's still, the concept is still the same.
Mm-hmm.
And what it's designed to do is to look at your roads,
Mhm.
look at the condition of the roads and categorize it in certain ways, and then tell you the best solution to extend the life of the road, or in some cases, grind it up and go. Okay?
Right.
So it gives you some maintenance ideas on extending the life of a road.
Yep.
And also helps you with cost projection.
Yeah.
And they keep updating the cost table. and
Yeah,
stuff.
and here's a side comment on that. The way the warrant articles for the road repairs have been previously written, they have not allowed for the simple overlay. We have ground up every road every time we've done a repair. We've gone right down, and that's a very expensive process.
But I believe.
It may be
a good
necessary,
investment,
It-
because
it-
it'll.
it may be or it may not be, depending on,
Have you noticed, and I know we didn't pay for Smithville's, but they did grind
Ye-
Smithville Road. You remember that one area that was
yeah,
Smithville Road
every,
now.
what's that?
I love Smithville Road.
There was a pothole there.
Yeah.
Every year. Well, they ground it, they didn't do a full 6 feet of sub base, but they just ground it, mixed with gravel.
yeah.
Graded it, and that thing's gone.
And that may be the approach,
Yeah.
but not on all roads.
Not on all
And
roads.
what I wanted to suggest was when that warrant article or warrant articles are rewritten, that the highway superintendent have some latitude so that he can make a decision whether or not an overlay is more appropriate or a full replacement.
I believe Peter wouldn't go grinding up Ashby Road.
He didn't have a choice.
No, I'm saying, now you
Yeah.
have, we're coming up to a point where we might wanna think about putting another
Yeah,
layer on.
but in the
He wouldn't-
past,
I don't think we're gonna just approach every road
No,
now, we're gonna go
no, but in-
re-grind them up.
in the past, the warrant articles were written such that he did not have a choice.
Right.
He had to rip and tear.
Yeah, which is what we needed, and on this note here, one of our guests tonight said, earlier at the swearing in, he said, whenever I get a little time off, I hop on my motorcycle, he wasn't from in town, I hop on my motorcycle and I come over to New Ipswich. You guys have the best roads anywhere.
Wow.
The roads have improved vastly. in the last
Yeah.
20
They have.
Well, we were investing in them, that's why.
Right.
That's what he said, I know you guys have put a lot of money. How's Mountain View?
Hmm?
You started on Mountain?
It's done, I
Mountain
think.
View?
Isn't it?
Not done yet.
No?
Did they start on?
They gotta put the top coat on.
Oh, okay. But it looks good?
Looks better than it did,
Well, it couldn't have looked much worse.
I know. They did widen it a little bit too, which is nice.
Okay.
They did the opposite on my road, which was not nice. We don't need to talk about that, cause that's a long time ago.
I don't know that we needed ours widened. The little curve the school bus has a problem there for that.
Yeah.
Nobody's complaining
They
about it.
don't know where my road is.
You guys were here earlier this
Yes.
Okay.
year. He hasn't even pushed for it with his new position. Can you imagine that?
Often my helper gets out of the hospital.
Yeah.
I
Me
won't be
too.
back. He's a good guy.
Yep.
Okay, item number 10. For what it's worth, the state has officially sent out its last drought update information. There's a little bit up north, the only thing they mentioned, I'm just mentioning this, is people have wells here, is that, the water table's coming back, but it's not necessarily totally back.
Up north.
Mostly up north. Down here is pretty well back.
Back? I'm surprised the trees haven't started falling down.
No, you have to understand the way the ecosystem works. You have to have rain for several years to actually replenish the aquifer. It's
We're
not,
talking about
it's,
the deep aquifers.
yeah, right. It's not just, the rains we had in July, August, now in September, where it seems like it's a lot and it's rained every day. That doesn't replenish the deep
No,
aquifer.
well, no, it's not talking about aquifers.
Yeah,
It's
no,
talking
no.
about the drought update.
Yeah,
We
I mean,
had when, in April, and then it ended?
yeah, something like that. Okay.
You know?
Okay, the last item is childcare licensing for municipalities, and we had a discussion on whether or not we had to be licensed, and we don't have to be licensed as a municipality. Our recreation department could do childcare.
Okay.
One,
Okay,
one
so,
item off of that.
That seems strange, though.
what?
No.
It does.
Why?
Because a municipality faces the same problems as a private childcare and has the same general liabilities and has the same difficulties hiring, how shall I say, non-questionable personnel for childcare.
Sure.
So why wouldn't the licensing be required the same way?
That's a question for Melanie, who sent the email.
All
We don't even need to question it.
right. We don't need
How
to,
come they can build roads the way they do, but I can't build
Okay.
my driveway the way I want to? They can have slopes on the side of the road like this, but my driveway has to have a.
I thought I had brought it out here, but.
it has to do with sovereignty.
Hmm?
It has to do with sovereignty.
Sovereignty?
Sovereignty.
All right.
Okay, now, I got a non-public, but I need to go get the paperwork for it, so if we take about 3 or 4 minutes,
Okay.
take a quick
What
break.
did we have on this?
The non-public should be pretty quick, it's looking for a yes or a no. And it's
Do
from
we
the
want to
attorney.
save that to the end and Jason, you and I go through any issues we might have?
Yeah,
Yeah.
you, if,
Were you gonna discuss code enforcement? Is that part of the non-public
No.
in the 2022?
No, I was going to bring up code enforcement, but I decided not to
Okay.
Okay.
at this point.
Do we wanna defer it to next week?
Yeah,
Yep. Before we go into non-public, I'd like to hit a couple, or at least one item. Hiring practices here in town. I know we're gonna do the employee handbook this coming Saturday. But, and I did wanna thank the chief for hiring the police administrator. But the question is, or it brought to mind, the question is, who has the authority to negotiate a new hire in any department? Not just, like we just
Right.
hired a new chief. Our new chief just hired a new administrator, and I know he had kept us abreast of what he was doing with the new administrator, but he did the final negotiations. Does he need, for administrator or for a police officer or him in particular, our approval for any new hire?
are you saying legally?
I'm
Or
saying,
a policy?
what is our policy?
Yeah.
I mean, we seem to all be in favor of it, but what if he had offered that particular person $100,000 a year?
Well,
He has a
We-
budget.
I know he has a budget, but
but you guys motioned to allow him to hire her within a range of this to
we
that.
gave him a range. Okay, so
So
we
you
gave
want
him
him to-
tacit approval.
My philosophy on it
Yeah.
would be department heads, whatever you decide to do, it's gonna show up here.
Okay.
Use the public's money wisely. And then, when it shows up, if there's major issues, then we deal with it. But otherwise, my feeling is you give them latitude to do the things they need to do to make their department run, and
Okay,
See how
you
it
don't
goes.
even want the authority to bless it and sprinkle it with holy water?
not really. I don't know, is that
I-
naive of me?
I think it is, actually.
Do you?
Because we have no written hiring policy. And if we want to go in the direction you outlined, that's fine, we should write it down and tell the department heads they have an authority. But the other part, and it's in the employee handbook, about nepotism and hiring family members and so forth, is that, that authority could, extend to, okay, you're not hiring a family member, you're hiring your really good friend from your childhood, and you're gonna give him a plum position, a sweetheart deal, and he has no talent whatsoever in any fashion whatsoever. I'm just saying that, like many things, the Board of Selectmen need to have some overview of the things that go on in town offices and the town departments. We cannot give complete carte blanche to department heads, but we can say, okay, you have the ability to go hire somebody. Once you've negotiated out something, bring it to us, we'll bless it, and so forth. Now, if we had a much larger town, where we had many, many more employees, that might not be feasible. But how many employees do we really have?
Policy now, do you want Parks and Rec coming to us for every
For every lifeguard,
candy
part-time?
stand?
I certainly
operator?
don't, but
I
at the
wouldn't.
same time, if you're gonna hire some, and they're seasonal, but if you're hiring somebody part-time, full-time, how much say-so do you want over that hiring practice?
Yeah, and you know the other side of that coin. The other side of that coin is it gives the department heads the feeling that I'm not authorized, it ain't my department, I need a new shovel. Peter's sitting in the chair, hey, Selectman, I got a shovel from such and such and such and such, which one do you want me to buy? And I have no interest in that kind of.
We don't need that sort of minor distraction,
But where do you?
but when you hire somebody full-time, is that minor? We're talking a salary of $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 a year, plus possibly insurance?
If it was a new hire, that's,
Well, that's what I'm thinking.
I mean, like a new position, but if it's already in their budget and they have this much money to hire this, for this position, do we wanna be involved in helping them figure out who the best candidate for them is?
And you know, from, you know, the descriptions I've received is most of the time, I'm gonna say all the time, I haven't heard of a single instance, department heads are hiring the best people they can find. I mean, that happens to be the practice that's been going on as long as I've been in town. But,
Well, it's good to hear, I have no idea.
well, but, you know, I mean, some of the people I've never met, and I can't even judge their qualifications, can't even begin to.
Sure.
You know, I mean, I've seen performance reviews on people who've been here for a while, and some people have been lambasted for non-performance or incompetence, but they've been here for ages. I mean, you know.
I have not seen a single performance.
I know you
review
have
since I've
not,
been here, so-
because we haven't done any. But at the same time, some people have been complimented profusely on their performance. And in the past, we've actually given raises based on performance, or mini promotions,
That's
call them what you
hope
want.
would happen, that it's taken
But,
seriously.
I just would like to, at some point, codify the hiring practice, and if this board chooses to, put the authority to hire and possibly fire within the, department head's authority, I think we should put that in writing. Whatever policy we come up with, or determination.
Who's gonna read it?
It doesn't matter if.
Filed in the next new board of selectmen.
It doesn't matter who reads it. It's a matter of, we have told the department heads
It could be
that we have
memorandum.
confidence. A memorandum. We have confidence, this is our current policy, and until it changes, we could even make it part of the new employee handbook, if we had it.
There's a thought. Bring it up Saturday.
It'll be up with us.
If you're gonna do that, You might as well add the process to fire somebody.
Part of that's already in there, if I remember
It is.
correctly.
There's a
Okay.
lot.
That's a lot of information in
There's
that
a lot,
handbook.
'cause that's a major legal issue.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying.
Yeah,
That's
that
when you
part
wanna
is-
make
So
sure.
we- Yeah, we have to dance around that one very carefully.
All right,
What is
good.
that?
Other than
If-
that, I'm good.
If you fire somebody,
That was all you had?
That was it.
if, for different reasons.
I've had a busy week.
You have to give, more notification, and I don't know about here, but like at the last company, if you fired somebody because they were using drugs, you had to first offer them counseling. So it was steps before you
Yeah.
could say, see ya, and cut the check. But
Where was that?
that was at IBM.
Okay.
Yeah.
Different state,
Yeah.
yeah. Generally speaking, people working for the town are employees at will,
Yeah,
but it gets a little tricky.
Mhm.
You're an employee at will, but under certain circumstances, okay, this, and this, the employer can't do,
Yeah.
okay? And so there's a bunch of things
yeah.
there, but.
Well, the employee handbook does outline certain
Right.
circumstances for removing an employee.
And if there's an appeal to the employer, it's the appeal by the employees to the Board of Selectmen,
Yeah,
okay? So, as far as hiring goes, as long as people know the rules, that's the key to the whole thing.
yeah.
You know,
I just want to codify the rules and put them in writing someplace.
but do you wanna tie up a Board of Selectmen with,
Nit noise? No.
11 interviews for.
No, I do not,
Secretary of the Police Department.
No.
I think we should talk about it.
It needs to be
in our
discussed.
workshop.
Needs to be discussed, but not in this format.
I think so, yeah.
Okay,
That's good. All right,
what you got?
I got
Nothing.
I have got, and I have to go get it, but I thought I brought it out when I did. I have got correspondence from Attorney Eric Moore concerning a lawsuit.
Is this the one we're gonna go non-public?
This is, yeah, I don't have a problem with the lawsuit, because the lawsuit's 11 Temple Road, okay? And a possible solution. And I have a separate, totally distinct one, which is a personnel matter. It's not a problem with anybody, like we were just talking about, okay? But it is somebody who works for us who does have a problem, and
We have to-
we need to
we
look at
have-
it for them.
it's-
So, it's pretty simple.
Okay,
So if we could take a 5-minute break and
Okay.
I'll go get the stuff.
all right. Jason, we want to sign some documentation while he's,
You could start in on that. Alan, did you want on your mind?
I'm in the dark.
Well, if there is nothing else, I think we can just
Good. Non-public?
go into,
move to go non-public, that way they're around.
I'm gonna give you the reason we went to non-public too, it's on the letter.
What do you do?
okay.
91A32, and I forget the rest of it.
That's why you needed the recess,
Yeah, just go get it. Oh, no, the lawyer wrote it out for me.
Oh, okay.
I'm gonna use his, thanks.
all right, so I just.
So get rid of
So
this.
it can properly,
I'll be back in a couple minutes.
properly
Oh.
call.
I'm getting old.
Me too.
We'll just, get a little soda.
Recess.
What's weird about these checks is it's a strange places, but you never know quite what they're for. Like, here's one to AAP, AA Police Supply, Dedham Sportsman Center, Inc. It's probably for something innocuous. Aflac, I didn't even know we were involved with Aflac.
That's gotta be our disability
I guess.
offering is Aflac, huh?
Anna Proscapes LLC, I don't even know what that is. Here's
Do you
one,
want to?
I'm not sure I want to know anything. Here's,
That whole manifest is, you could make a career of